Welcome to the IREL podcast. Are you sick and tired of real estate gurus pitching their next pre-construction deal, only to find out years later they were completely wrong? Worried the next overseas conference you spend thousands to attend will only be used to sell overpriced lots in deserted developments? Join thousands of other international real estate seekers who are looking for their place in paradise without the sales pitch. Straight from your host, Taylor White.
Hey, real estate seeker, welcome to the Overseas Property Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor White. I am proud to say this episode is brought to your earbuds, courtesy of my friends at Bed and Breakfast. If you own or manage a small inn or bed and breakfast, why don't you list it on the world's #1 online B&B directory that comes with an exclusive risk-free 90-day money-back guarantee? Head on over to irelpodcast.com/bed to get started. I am thrilled to once again head back to Ireland when I sit down and speak with Damien Baxter from Baxter Estate Agents, and as always, we'll get the true story on the local real estate scene and have you coming away wanting to investigate its local property market further or cross off your shortlist entirely and continue listening. Right now from Damien, you will learn why so many multinational corporations are calling Dublin home and what it means for local property prices, how the local real estate market has fared since crashing, and reasons why Damien expects prices to continue on an upward swing. Sets the record straight on if getting local financing is even a possibility, and much more. And don't forget, if you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Damien's contact details, links on buying or selling Dublin real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/39. Grab me an Americano with Irish cream, don't forget the surfboard, and get ready for Damien's insights. In case you can't tell, I'm excited. Let's get Damien on the phone. What is going on, Damien? It's Taylor White. I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, straight from Dublin, Ireland, so we can get to know you personally. Tell us more about yourself and where your stomping grounds were before you ended up in Dublin.
Okay, Taylor, I grew up in Dublin, so I suppose that was an obvious choice that I might remain here. However, I did work my summer vacations abroad when I was a property student in Toronto, New York, and London, respectively, while studying for property economics. I suppose from that experience, not that I enjoyed the experience, but I just preferred the idea of remaining in Dublin. The course was aimed primarily at graduates going on to join the RICS, the Royal Institute of Surveyors, which is the premier real estate body in the UK and Ireland. When I graduated from college, I decided to pursue my career in Dublin, as I preferred living in Dublin and having as easy access to other European destinations. We're only, it's a 3-hour flight to Madrid, or 2.5-hour flight to Paris, 3-hour flight to Stockholm. So, there's great options there to visit other destinations.
Well, Damien, I have to ask you, we're in March. Actually, it's St. Paddy's Day weekend. You're in Ireland. We have listeners from all over the place. What's the weather like today?
The weather today is slightly overcast but dry, and currently about I think it's about 10 degrees. I mean, that's 10 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure on the Fahrenheit what that is. Yeah, so 10 degrees is nice. Actually, it's we've had a nice high pressure system over Ireland for the last 3 or 4 days. We had 2 months of very stormy weather here. So, but we've come through the winter here with no snow. So it's quite a temperate climate. Our winter here is quite temperate. A lot of wind and a lot of rain, but we don't get hit by snow. So, which kind of, when we do, it can be quite disruptive because we're not used to it. Yeah.
Love it, Damien.
Yeah.
And so we can get a better idea of you professionally. Give us your brief resume leading up to Baxter Estate Agents.
Okay, Taylor, I am working now in this business, estate agent business, for 22 years. I did a property economics course, which I graduated and went to work then for a large residential estate agent group based in Dublin here. It was good training for me. I then decided to join my father's residential estate agency business, which he had set up in the late 1970s. I am now running the business myself, as my late father had retired some years ago. I am a fully qualified valuation surveyor, member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors and the Society of Chartered Surveyors in Ireland. Although currently working mainly in the residential sales and valuation real estate market, I also have experience working in the commercial real estate market, including lettings, rent reviews, and sales transactions.
So, Damien, I have to ask, do you remember the transaction sale on your first deal?
I do. I think I do. It was a small 3-bedroom house. I'd say would have been priced probably in the old Irish pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the old Irish pounds. Probably, I think it was like 40,000 pounds.
And Damien, we are always fascinated to learn about which countries people have considered and why. Now, why don't we delve deeper into Ireland as a whole, and then why you chose Dublin in particular versus other popular Irish locations?
Okay. Well, Ireland first is a relatively small country with a much lower population density than our UK neighbours. Overall, 1/3 of the country's population, 6 million, live within the Greater Dublin region. It is the economic hub of Ireland and has seen major economic growth in the last 15 years with massive inward migration from countries in Eastern Europe, such as Poland, but also from Asia and Africa. Dublin is now European headquarters for a massive amount of American multinationals in the IT and pharmaceutical sectors. I understand that 8 of the top pharma companies now have operations here. Dublin also has been very good at attracting the top IT companies such as Google, Microsoft, Intel and LinkedIn. eBay, PayPal and IBM all have operations in the northwest Dublin area where I'm operating in. Dublin is a very vibrant young city with a temperate climate and easy access to the sea and mountains for recreation purposes. The west coast of Ireland is only a 3-hour drive with some of the best surf conditions in Europe. But just remember to pack your wetsuit, as the waters, to be honest, can be slightly won't be as warm as in Panama.
It's a little chilly.
Yes, a little chilly, but very good surf. And so all these reasons made it very compelling to stay here and live here.
So, Damien, talk to me. We are looking at Europe. We see Ireland. Can you better explain on a map where Dublin's located?
Dublin is in the middle of the country, right on the east coast. So, and Ireland itself is on. We're on the. I suppose we're considered on the edge of Europe, but and I think it's why. I mean, we see it as a gateway to Europe, and I think that's why the Americans have. A lot of them have set up their HQs here because we sort of have that gateway access coming from the east, coming across. We have easy access, so we're right on the east coast, so we're fairly protected. We don't have the influence of the Atlantic, what the west coast would have.
Well, Damien,
yes.
We have gotten to know you both personally and professionally, reasons why you chose Ireland and why Dublin speaks to you. But get ready, because now it's time for us to pick your brain on the local real estate scene and to get the juices flowing. We're going to do a quick round of what I like to call the real estate hot seat. We'll ask you 5 rapid-fire questions, and you give me an answer in 15 seconds or less each. Damien, are you ready for the Dublin hot seat?
I'm ready.
All right. What currency is local real estate priced in?
It's in euros.
Is owning property as a foreigner legal?
Yes.
Can property be titled?
Yes.
Can money flow in and out of Ireland easily, or are there currency restrictions?
No, it's easy. There is money laundering legislation in place. So as long as the money's legitimate, yes, it can flow in and out.
And as everyone knows, Damien, my number one question, what is your favorite local drink?
My favorite drink, believe it or not very stereotypical Irish, would be an Americano coffee with some of our Irish dairy cream, which I like to promote, which is I think our dairy products are probably the best in Europe.
Damien, you're supposed to say whiskey, buddy.
I know I meant to say Irish whiskey, but that's the stereo. I'm with Patrick's Weekend. We'll put a plug in for Irish whiskey and Guinness, but yeah, they are quite popular too.
So I have to ask, it's St. Paddy's weekend. Obviously, it's huge in Ireland. What are you going to be doing this weekend?
This weekend, I'd be taking time out and relaxing, and depending on the weather, might get a game of golf in. if the weather conditions are good. So yeah, good. We have our own parade here on the Monday, so may watch that.
Okay, Damien, you are off the hot seat, but it's time to zero in on the local real estate scene. Give us your brief synopsis on the Dublin real estate market over the last few years, where it is today, and then where you see it heading for the very near future.
Okay, as you may be aware, we did experience a pretty severe property crash here in the 08-09 period. So there was quite a few down years, but in the last 12 months, the market is recovering, and we've seen price increases, well, anything from 10% to 20%. And Dublin would be the most pronounced in that, and I think it's mainly because it would be the main centre of employment in Ireland. I feel the market here for property will grow over the next year and then probably plateau out somewhat. I suppose we are still subject to what happens in Europe, and particularly with the euro. So any jitters in the Spanish or Italian banking economy could have adverse knock-on effects here.
So, Damien, would it be fair to say that Dublin peaked sometime in 2008 and 2009, crashed pretty hard, just like a lot of other markets, and then now do you think it's kind of stabilized and is now on some kind of upswing?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we had price falls here of 60%. So what's happening in the market now is people are seeing, they're seeing value in it. Certainly in the last 12 months, we have, with certainly the return. So yeah, I mean, we're in a much better place. But look, we had as I said, there's a lot of things going for the market here, and I think it overcorrected. I think the price has overcorrected somewhat.
Well, Damien, you have a sold on Ireland as a destination, Dublin as a location, and then a real estate outlook within the near future. Of course, you don't have a crystal ball. I sure as heck don't. No one does. But that is why I think it's so vitally important to get on the ground insight from local real estate professionals. And yes, Damien, I just used the words local and on the ground in the same sentence to drive home a very important fact. You are not some newsletter writer who might spend a few days in Dublin and then send out emails with hot buys, calling yourself an Irish real estate guru. You are there in the trenches on a daily basis, dealing with local buyers, sellers, agents, lawyers, and every facet of the real estate business. Damien, break this down even further for us. Pretend you are Google Maps or Google Street View. What streets, neighborhoods, or parts of the city are we talking about in Dublin?
Okay, well, I suppose I operate in the northwest of Dublin, specifically two postal codes, Dublin 15 and Dublin 7. It's as a large proportion of my immediate market would be popular with first-time buyers due to affordability, and then you've maybe other locations like Castleknock, Navan Road, which would be older, mature areas and would be more expensive. On other parts of Dublin, Dublin 4, Dublin 6 on the south side, again, they would have recovered probably the fastest and early on because they would be very established locations and quite expensive. And particularly on a lot of the south side of the Dublin locations, which would have that are near to the coast, will be extremely popular, and we would have seen significant and continuing significant demand for those locations.
So then, Damien, before we move on, what's your typical clientele like? Do you normally deal with first-time buyers? Do you normally deal with people from outside of Ireland? Who do you normally deal with?
Okay, my market is generally first-time buyers and people trading up. We wouldn't really, we wouldn't have a huge focus for people coming in to buy outside. Not to say that wouldn't be happening in other parts of Dublin, and particularly the city centre locations. We're in the suburbs here, and probably just it wouldn't be just as sought after, I suppose, from an outside. But so primarily first time buyers. We have like 50% in my area here. 50% of my buyers now are not Irish born.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we you know, we have a significant immigrant population come into this area in the last 10 years, primarily from Poland, Lithuania, Romania, India, Pakistan. So maybe people don't realize it, but it's quite multi-ethnic now here.
And they are there seeking jobs, or are they like retired?
No, these people are working here. These people are working in these people are working in your eBay and your PayPal and your
Right.
IBM. Yeah, their skill set. These companies have had to recruit these people, I suppose, because they offer certain skill sets. And some of the companies operating in our area here are, they're the European headquarters for a lot of companies. So they need multilingual. So it's hard sometimes to get that skill base here. We wouldn't be Irish people. We speak English, but we're not great. But yeah, we speak English, but we're not great on our second language. So we wouldn't have too many bilingual French, Spanish, German speakers. So they've had to bring in a lot of these. So that's where they would particularly the call centers that operate. IBM, I think, have a call center in there, and again, so they have a lot of European staff coming in, and we have I have Italian buyers here and Spanish buyers here as well. Now, but these guys are not buying holiday homes. They're buying to live here. They have their job and they're happy with their job because, the economies, the unemployment rate in Spain, Italy is quite high in comparison to here.
So, Damien, now that we have certain locations in mind, what types of properties do you recommend? Are we talking about buying pre-construction units for capital appreciation that we later flip? Are we talking about buying completed apartments, houses, or office spaces to generate rental income? Or are we talking about buying land to either sell as is or subdivide into smaller tracts? Give us a better idea of what you're talking about today.
Okay, I wouldn't be a big fan of promoting, that sort of idea that you can flip properties. I think it's high risk. And but I suppose from an investor's point of view, I think the apartments are a good buy because you've less management. You're paying management fee, and I think they're just easier to maintain as an investment. And there's better returns on the apartments because prices tend to be a bit lower. I think you're looking at better gross returns, maybe 5 or 6% on apartments. I think if you're buying houses, it's lower, because you're competing more with people to buy as own occupiers. Well, apartments, it would be just slightly less demand. It'd be more investment driven. Commercial units could be looked at as well, if again in good locations. If there's a good strong covenant coming with the tenant, would also recommend that type of thing.
So it's fair to say the buy to flip days are over.
I think so, and they didn't. Yeah, I think that was part of our problem. It was that was kind of pyramid scheme. Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of, we don't need to go back to that really. I mean, it happened here and it happened in the UK and Spain and look, I don't think it's long term. It's good. So no, I think people, if you're coming to buy now, I think you've got to take a reasonably long term view.
Okay, Damien, now I'm going to hit you up with a two-part question that I know everyone wants to know, and you have to give us a general range. So we have some price points in mind. Here they are. Part one. What would be the price range of what we are talking about? Maybe give us a starting price point at the low end to a final price point at the high end. And Damien, just to clarify, I'm talking about total purchase price.
Okay. In the suburbs where I am and in a reasonably good location, you're looking at a 2-bed apartment ranging from €150,000 to say €200,000. Well, in the city, the city centre location, and which I suppose would be strong, there'd be stronger rents had there. You could be looking at €250,000 upwards for 2 beds.
And then we're going to transition to a part two. I know it's tough, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What would be the cost per meter just for a general range?
I think that's working out at €2,000 per square meter to about €3,600 per square meter.
And then how big are flats normally?
Our typical 2-bed apartment here would be 70 square meters. 60 to 80 square meters. Probably a little bit on the small side in comparison to our European neighbours. Remember, right. Ireland we would have adopted the UK 3-bed semi-detached low density housing. So, like Dublin is quite a low density city. I suppose for American listeners, something along the lines with your Los Angeles. It's low rise, low density. So apartments are kind of are only relatively new. In the last 10 years, most of our development were houses. Three or four bedroom semi-detached houses. So they started off, sizes were quite small. So 60, 80 square meters, which is what anything from about 650 to 850, 900 square foot.
And just curious, does that normally come with 2 bathrooms, 1 bathroom?
Yeah. Anything built in the last 10 years will come with 2 bathroom. Minimum 2 bathroom for a 2-bed, yeah. 2 bathroom and, a reasonably good fit out.
Okay, Damien, this is a question I like to call, what would sister do? My 40-something-year-old sister calls you up, says she has X amount of dollars to spend. You can't let my sister down, Damien. Share with us 3 examples you would show her and explain why these make sense.
Okay, I had a 2-bed apartment recently that we sold in Blanchardstown, which is exact town I'm in. Now that would be a 2-bed built, a very modern 2-bed apartment, a generous size, about 85 square meters, and that was sold for €168,000, 2 bathroom. The other, unfortunately, at the moment with the market I'm in, I haven't got a lot else to offer. A lot of the stuff we have, we're selling at the moment. The other locations I point out will be postal codes Dublin 2, Dublin 4, Dublin 6, and you're looking at having to pay probably $250 for a 2-bed apartment, but you're getting the security of knowing that you'll get good quality tenants.
That's fantastic. And just curious, why is it that you don't have a huge inventory? Is it because that you have so many buyers?
Yep.
Is it because there's not very many sellers?
It's a combination of both. Normally in Dublin, the transacting, I think we're transacting about 2% of our market. Normally it's about 4%. It's coupled with the fact that there's still quite a there's still quite a lot of people in negative equity here. Unfortunately, we don't have unlike in America where they had non-recourse loans, we have the opposite here. So you can't walk away from your debt. So if you bought your property for €300,000 in the boom and it's only worth 200,000 now, and you still owe that 100,000 to the bank, you can't walk away. There's no. I think they call it in America jingle mail. You can't do that here. Yeah. You can't just walk away, hand back the keys. So there's still a bit of that overhanging is affecting the supply, coupled with the fact that people now realise prices are rising. They're holding off a bit. There's a bit of holding off by vendors waiting to capitalise. But certainly we would have, for an average 3-bed house, we would have maybe up to 10, 15 buyers looking at one house at a go.
Oh wow!
Yeah, at the moment for a typical 3-bed house, yeah, you'd have up to 10, 15 parties, no problem for each property.
So, Damien, we are focused on areas of Dublin. We know our starting price point. We have an idea of cost per meter. We have examples, which are good enough even for my sister. Now, I have to ask an obvious question. How do we buy? Do we need to come in with all cash, or can we come in with a certain percentage down and get local financing from a bank or credit union?
Yeah, my initial response would have been that, I think it'd be difficult enough to raise funds here. Saying that, I just had a guy in there, or not a guy on to me, but in fairness, he's an Irish national living in Australia, and he's just bought an investment property here, and he's raising his finance here. Now, I suspect because he's Irish, an Irish national, but I didn't think the banks were doing that. I didn't think they were raising finance for people living abroad. But look, I think generally you need to put down 10% when you sign a contract. You need to put 10% down. So I suspect cash would be the main finance vehicle for most non-Irish buyers.
Okay, got it. So then we are looking at all cash purchases.
I think so. Yeah. If you're not Irish national, yeah.
Okay, Damien, anyone who has ever owned real estate can tell you, you need to have a money exit strategy in place even before you buy. It's something what I like to call, where's the cheddar? You are buying the property to do what with it to make some money. So, Damien, where's my cheddar?
Okay, well, I suppose the 2 things that come to mind here is one, our tenant system. Okay, it's quite a strong that the law here is quite strongly in favour of the landlord. Okay, so tenants have poor security of tenure. In other words, you can exit out very easy here, even if you have a tenant in situ. You can sell your property very quickly here. There's that you can give notice, and so you can exit. And our legal system is very strong here as well. Again, is recognized, hence why we've had such investment by American companies. So that's a big thing for me. If you bought in Germany, particularly, they have really strong protection laws there for tenants. So you could buy a property in Germany, but you might not be able to sell it because tenants are you'll have tenants are protected there. They could have 10-year leases and stuff. While here, the maximum notice period will be about 4 or 5 months. You'd need to give a tenant. So that would be, I think, a big advantage for somebody investing.
Well, Damien, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to share with us about Dublin real estate. We have heard about your journey, why you chose Ireland, exact areas to focus on, price points to look out for, examples, good enough even for my sister, a strategy to purchase, and then what we might do with it after the fact to make some cheddar. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. But before we do, share with us easy ways to get a hold of you, any parting advice you might want to share, and then let's say goodbye.
No problem. My website is www.baxter.ie. I can be contacted on email at Damien, Damien, at baxter.ie. Skype Damien.Baxter1. And our office number, including the international code, is 00353 821 3733.
Absolutely fantastic, Damien. I have really enjoyed this conversation straight from Dublin, Ireland to our earbuds, and I hope we can catch up again in 3 to 6 months.
No problem, Taylor. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
I want to thank Damien once again for taking us back to Ireland and exposing why so many multinational corporations are setting up shop in Dublin. Listening to Damien excites me about the opportunities in Ireland, and I can't wait to get him back on the show again soon with more specific Dublin real estate investments he believes you need to hear about right now. If you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Damien's contact details, links on buying or selling Irish real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/39. Are you a real estate agent like Damien with an amazing story you want to share? Do you have properties located in the world's most desired hotspots just waiting for buyers? Well, guess what? I want to help. Whether you're a Spaniard in Argentina, a Slovak in Paris, or an Irishman in Ireland, I invite you to share it with my eager audience. Head on over to irelpodcast.com/39 to get started. And together, we will share your story.
You have been listening to the IREL Podcast with Taylor White. Be sure to hit up irelpodcast.com for more. That's irelpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.